Hi, friends. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Julie Dunn. I am the Assistant Vice President for Student Life. I will be your summer tour guide for getting you ready to attend Whitman here in the fall. I'm starting my 34th year here at the college, so I've been around the block a few times and am just thrilled today to welcome a great lineup of panelists to help us talk about your health, wellness, and for those of you who will be using this resource, disability access services. So, we're going to spend the majority of our time answering your questions. And so, please, someplace down here is a button that says Q&A. Click on that, start putting your questions in. I will moderate for our team here and kind of group questions together and make sure that we get all of the pertinent questions you have answered in the next 58 minutes. So we're going to actually start with quick introductions so everybody knows who everybody is. And I'm going to start with Amy. So bear with me. Let me fix you there. So if you could just do a quick intro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Milne. I have the pleasure of serving as the Assistant Vice President for Wellness here at Whitman. I've been at the college for 2 years. I've been in the higher ed college health space for about 17 years. I oversee our integrated health clinic, and I am a therapist by trade. And I'm just really excited to welcome you all to Whitman. So, hello.
Awesome. We're going in alphabetical by first name order. So, in case you're wondering, Cindy, you're up.
Well, hello, my name is Cindy Saldana, and I'm the Director of Disability Access Services. At Whitman, we view disability as an important aspect of diversity, and we are very much committing to ensuring equitable access to academics, housing, campus life, and other college opportunities. We're really excited that you're here today because each student's experience is unique, and accommodations are determined individually to address disability-related barriers and to support equitable access to your Whitman experience. So glad you're here today.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Laura.
Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Norris. I'm a nurse practitioner by trade and the director of the health center here. I've been here since 2017, so it's been a minute. We have a well-staffed health center that serves students from everything ranging from vaccine administration, which you all hopefully are very aware of at the moment, and all the way to urgent and non-emergent health conditions, both acute injuries, ongoing care, as well as accidents and things like that. We work with all of the different departments on campus to make sure that the health needs of students are addressed. And we love seeing them. We love seeing you, and we're excited to welcome you this fall.
Thank you, Laura. And last but not least, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah, and I use she, her pronouns. I am the Disability Access Services Specialist, and that means I have the pleasure of meeting with every student who utilizes accommodations, and we talk about what barriers they do encounter or they might encounter while at college related to their disability and kind of figure out what accommodations we can put in place to lower those barriers.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, we're going to put everybody together here in the center. I'll just stay up here at the top and be the question asker. I'm actually going to start with a question with Laura because I think it was in my Monday email. We put in it's either coming in, it was either yesterday's email or it's next Monday's email about the health portal. Could you say a little bit about what students need to do for the health portal so that students are aware as that to-do list comes to do?
You bet. We're kind of excited about the health portal because it collapses all the information that you need to share with us prior to your arrival on campus. The health portal is something you access. You can get to it through the email that was sent out, I believe it was yesterday, is a link. And you can also access it through the Welty Health and Counseling Center website. There's a Access My Health portal. Click on it, it goes straight there. And you get into it with your Whitman ID. Your username and your password will get you direct access right into there. Once you're into the health portal, it is a secure health portal. And it is the place where all of the forms that you're required to fill out prior to your arrival, which includes an immunization form, your tuberculosis screening form, and your health insurance information form, as well as health history and things like that. All of those forms are right there. You just click through them, fill them out, submit them, and then we get them, we can clear you, and then you're done. If we have questions, we will reach out directly through your email for now. We have a way of communicating through the health portal as well, but until everybody's up and running, we try to hit all of our bases as much as possible. The health portal down the line is a place where you can see any health, like blood tests that come in, any communications from providers, any upcoming appointments, things like that. It's our way of communicating with students without having to go through non-secure sources. We take your health information and keeping it, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, keeping it carefully is super important to us. And so this is one way to keep it secure for you.
Awesome. I also believe there is a link in my.whitman.edu in your to-do list. So if you're like, oh, that was a lot of different places, the clearinghouse for all the things you need to get done is in my.whitman.edu. Just a reminder, when we say username, that is the part of your email address before the at thingy. So for me, my username is DoneJL. Yours might be longer or different. So it's your username and the password that you use for your email will get you into my .whitman.edu. All right, great job. We see some questions coming in on the Q&A, so I'm going to turn towards there. The first few are going to lean towards the disability folks, and I'm not sure which of you, but one of you jump in and answer this. So there's a couple about 504 plans. If I had a 504 plan in high school, do I send it to the disability office or do I just come talk about my new education plan entirely? It sounds like folks are wondering what do they need to get started with accommodations at Whitman?
Yeah. So that's a really great question, and we love 504s. You can either email them to us at das@whitman.edu, or you can upload it straight when you do your initial request form for accommodations. However, 504 plans do not count as documentation in higher education. 504 plans are under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, nerdy stuff there. But that's specific to K through 12 education. We have specific forms for your providers, so your primary care providers, your therapist, your psychiatrist, your specialist, whoever medical provider you see, we have specific forms for them to fill out that give us the information that we need. Alternatively, they can write their own letter or form. However, it's not guaranteed that it will have all the information that we need. So, in short, we love 504s. They give a lot of information, but they don't necessarily count as the medical documentation that we need at Whitman.
Thanks, Sarah. I will at the end put in the link that will take you to Disability Access Services so you can jump right into those places where you have to upload or download or get forms or whatnot. I will add it to kind of at the end here. All right, this one, let's kind of stay in that vein and then we'll jump over to the health center. But when is the latest date to submit new accommodations? Why don't we start there? This has multi questions. When is the latest date to submit accommodations?
Technically, never. Accommodations can be implemented whenever throughout the school year. However, specifically in regards to housing accommodations, including emotional support animals, we really encourage you to do those as soon as possible because they're based on availability of dorms. And regarding the ESAs, making sure that your roommate might be okay with them, for example. So as far as housing goes, we aim to have them approved. So that means application, meeting with us, and getting it approved, including the correct documentation by around July 15th. But academic accommodations are much easier to implement at any point throughout the school year. But at any point in the academic year, you can always apply, and we will try our best with our housing friends too, who we work very closely with, to make sure that your needs are met and that you have access to what you need.
Yeah, I've seen some traffic on the family Facebook page about why don't we hear about our roommates sooner than the first week of August? This is one of those reasons. There's a lot of moving pieces relative to housing. So if you are a student who's going to need a housing accommodation, really, really important that you get connected with Sarah or Cindy sooner than later, so that you can ensure that you get the housing accommodation that you need to ensure that you have a successful transition to Whitman. Okay, switching gears a little bit, kind of coming your way, Laura. I'm thinking, if I have a controlled prescription for ADHD, is there a school psychiatrist that can refill those, or do I need to establish care with a physician in town?
That is a great question. We are not able to diagnose or prescribe for ADHD, but we can certainly help you find someone who can. If you can't come with your own medications, and that's always the best idea, usually those are prescribed by someone who knows you, who understands, who's already sort of run you through the gamut to make sure that you're treated properly. If you can't do that, though, we can work with you to find a provider in the community. Yeah.
Awesome. Amy, do you want to jump in and talk about the role that Trish Ann plays
You are
here?
reading my mind, Julie. It's perfect. So, we have an individual who works over the summer as well as during the academic year who's a clinical case manager. And their role is really to connect students to resources off campus as well as some on campus, but thinking about a specialist or physician, therapist, psychiatrist that for a service that we don't offer here on campus. Trish, you can meet with Trish over the summer. She can help you connect. She'll help you with your insurance, make sure that you find someone in network, and then help make the introductions. Because, Walla Walla is on the smaller side, and we've been able to develop some good relationships with providers off campus. So, to make those health appointments, and I would say not just for mental health stuff. So physical health, if you part of your care and keeping of yourself is meeting regularly with a physician, then we want you to meet with us this summer so that we can replicate what you need as you go through your academic time here at Whitman. So to get this started, you just email healthcare@whitman.edu and connect with our front desk staff, and they'll get you scheduled. The other thing, just pulling back to our health portal, because I'm also equally excited about that. When you're doing your immunization form, at the bottom of that, it'll ask you, do you want to have a wellness meeting with one of our providers? If you simply click yes, then we will be in touch with you via your Whitman email and get that scheduled. So there's a couple different ways that you can start that process, but connecting Trish and Laura both are meeting with students this summer.
Thank you. There's a question about specific documentation or form, which we just kind of hit on. I think, see if I've done this right. I think in the chat, I just added the link to Disability Access Services. I know all the hosts can see it, but if there's some indication from somebody in the attendees that you also got that chat, that would be greatly appreciated. Just raise your hand, do something so that I know you got it. That would be helpful. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. That'll be the best way to kind of see all those things because there's different forms for different things. And that way you have all that. It also has the link to the portal. Sarah or Cindy, is there anything special folks need to do to set up and accommodate account?
Yeah, Julie, I'll send a chat as well with the initial request form, and that's what will give you access to log in. I'll also include the link for logging in to accommodate once you've made that initial request as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And if there
Okay.
are any difficulties, they can always just email das@whitman.edu. And we're more than happy to just meet with individuals and walk them through the process, as sometimes it can seem as a barrier and a challenge just to go through that. And so we're always more than welcome to meet with students virtually. So even if they're not on campus yet, we can do that.
Great. Thank you so much, Cindy, for that. Okay, we're going to be hopping back and forth between these two offices, at least based on the way these questions are coming in. As an international student, can you explain the how insurance works? And maybe Laura or Amy talk broadly about insurance for everyone, insurance for international students, so that the folks might know that there's a difference.
Do you want me to start it, Laura, and you pitch in? Yeah, that's good. So if you're an international student, we will be enrolling you in insurance that's actually quite comprehensive. And you'll be starting to get messaging about that after a little before August 1st and then in earnest after August 1st. Um, American healthcare is complicated. It's often feels really intimidating for our international students. And part of what we do is help educate and help folks walk them through the process of learning about the American healthcare system. But Cody and Laura from the International Scholars Office, I think they just changed their name, Julie, you have to, but they will be sending you a lot of messaging about the insurance plan. So um, and we can help decipher that. Oftentimes, international students will start with us. And then if they need a specialist, then our nurses or our clinical case manager will help make those connections. Whitman does require students to come with insurance that works here. And I think this is a really important piece to be thinking about is if you have an HMO from California, that might be very broad and usable insurance in California or in your area. But when it comes to using that in Washington, it may not actually work. So it's really important to get on the phone with your insurance company, find out who is in network in Walla Walla. There's not a lot of options here. We do have a fairly decent regional hospital, our St. Mary's and Providence. So there is pieces, but there's not a Kaiser here in Walla Walla. So if you're a Kaiser, you really need to like talk to Kaiser and say, okay, where does my student go for urgent care? Where do they go for emergency care? Where do they go for, just every day? You need to have usable insurance here. Um, if you're getting stuck with that, again, this is a great opportunity to get in touch with Trish, our clinical case manager. She can help decipher some of the things and help point you in directions of being able to access insurance. And as Laura, in our student health portal, there is a form to fill out that you would attest that you have insurance that works here. Laura, pitch in because I know there's some things that I missed that.
No, I mean that hits most of it. The international students are automatically issued insurance that they're responsible for. Domestic students have to come with their own. And it's real important that you talk to your insurance company, not just with Kaiser, but any insurance company to find out how they handle long distance coverage. Often, just as a point of reference, most insurance companies these days, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of them have for instance, a nurse line. So if you have questions about your own health and it's after hours, that's really important to know about your insurance company because they cover that. And you don't have to go down the street to urgent care in that case, and it's all covered by the insurance company. So it makes it simpler. Know what coverage you have, all the little nitty gritty things. Some of it is psychiatric coverage, some of it is health coverage, some of it is sort of what do they call that? Complimentary coverage for massages and things like that. And then you can talk to our providers in the office about, where those services can be accessed. A lot of the things like the basic stuff we can handle here, but we don't have radiology. We don't have IV administration. We don't have some of the more urgent or emergent services. We do have to send you out. So even though you're generally healthy, and I'm talking to you as a general student, and you don't think that you're going to need insurance, and some people have that mentality, when you get here and things happen, we don't want you to be out on a limb with a big cost for healthcare. That's why we ask that everybody comes. We want you to be protected. Your job as a student and as a parent of a student is to make sure that education doesn't get interrupted by unforeseen events to the biggest extent possible.
And I think to that point, if there's a parent or guardian on the call, make sure you sit down with your student and show them their insurance card. I like to put it, I just got 2 kids through college. I'd every year make sure they had a picture of it on their phone because often they don't carry their wallets, but they usually always have their phones, right? And that you've identified like these are the urgent cares that you should go to, right? Like, and if you do it ahead of time, so that if they're out playing ultimate frisbee at 2 in the morning and they roll their ankle, and that they're prepared, they know where to go. It's a great stepping adulting skill for the students to have.
Yeah.
Great. More questions, please put them in. I will continue to work on them. I had one that came to mind for me, and maybe this is a Amy Sarah or an Amy Cindy joint answering. Can you talk a little bit about how these two offices actually work together to support students? And I don't, you guys figure out who should start.
I can start, and then Cindy, why don't you step in with what? Um, I think that the wonderful thing about a school like Whitman is our college offices don't work in silos, right? So we're small. We even this summer, there's been a wonderful collaboration of students that were, maybe got in touch with the Disability Access Services to get their accommodations figured out. And they mentioned like, oh, I actually go to counseling on a regular basis. And then Sarah will say, hey, let me connect you to the folks over at Welty so that you can talk to them about the services and make sure you have what you need. Or maybe you want to go off campus, you can talk to Trish about doing that. So we know each other. We talk and connect students all the time with students' permission. And oftentimes it's our campus partners who are able to help like walk a student to our office if they're feeling a little apprehensive about meeting us for the first time, and us vice versa, that we can make those personalized connections between offices. I think that's just one of the really important pieces about Whitman. Cindy, what do you think?
Well, to add on, I think that's what makes Whitman such a special place is that there's a lot of resources that we do have on campus. And so our end goal is we want students to have access in order to be successful. And so I think, like you mentioned, it's a great way for students that are working with us that are trying to make a proactive plan of going, hey, who is my person that I can talk to? Or hey, if I need tutoring or academic coaching, or hey, I might need X, Y, and Z. It's really nice that we are all connected where we don't share confidential information, but we're able to go, this is a great person that you can connect with. And I think, again, that's what makes us very, very special.
Sarah, anything to add?
No, I think they got it. And yeah, a lot of it is just that we know each other and we work together. And it's great because there are certain students who need all of our brains together to kind of figure out a best solution for them because all four of us have different perspectives and we all work with the student at the heart of what we're doing. And so sometimes we have to get creative, but ultimately we are all working for your access.
Awesome. Laura, did you
Yeah.
mean to raise your hand?
I did. I did. I
Perfect.
think one of the direct ways we interact regularly with the Disability Access Office is for those injuries that require short-term accommodations, and we provide the medical documentation. So, the Sarah referenced the medical documentation you need to bring with you, but there are things that happen all the time that are going to impact your ability to get to class or where you're staying for a while or what kind of things you need around you, and we can provide the documentation for those as well.
Awesome. All right, Laura, we're going to turn to you. If a student needs transportation in the case of emergency, maybe an emergent incident or injury, but not an ambulance requiring type, can you talk about what the options are for students? And then I'm going to circle back to the second part of this question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Walla Walla doesn't exactly have taxi service available 24/7. However, our first stop, we asked that if it's a situation on campus, that first question goes to security. If it's someone who needs to be transported immediately without an ambulance, frequently we will just collaborate with security and or residents' life to get them there. Sometimes they come to our office and we determine that it is an emergency, and we have sent people off in an ambulance from the health center, or we've helped them rearrange or arrange for transportation. There's no one answer to that question, but the answer is we get them there if they need to be there.
Awesome. The kind of second part of this question, or maybe the first part, I flipped it, is if a student needs a service that's off campus, maybe they have a counselor that is not on campus. How do they get there? We don't provide transportation to kind of things that are scheduled. What I will tell you is Walla Walla is a small town. I don't know entirely where Sarah and Cindy live. Um, but I live really far, far, far from campus, a whopping 3 miles. So things are pretty close. The hospital is less than a mile to walk. We have urgent care that's less than a mile. Things like physical therapy that might be a little further afield, but certainly a bike. There is also free public transportation in Walla Walla. So, mastering Valley Transit would also be another way to think about getting places. And then finally, the college has a set of vehicles called sway vehicles, the sway cars, that students can rent. If you have a legal driver's license to drive in the U.S., you can just set up an account, and it's for a relatively small cost for you, certainly cheaper than an Uber, certainly cheaper than a taxi, for you to just borrow a sway car. I think it's like $2.50 per 15 minutes. So, an hour trip might be a $10 cost, which is certainly cheaper than an Uber. So, we do have that option. Certainly a bike would be handy if you need to get to a dentist or an eye doctor or something off campus. But also lots of things are really, really close by. So I will add that. Okay, I'm currently at the bottom of my Q&A bucket. That doesn't mean we're done. Let me think about some other questions here for y'all. Sarah, Cindy, can you talk to me about kind of your hours, when you're open? How do students just, if they just need to drop in, how does that work?
Yeah, so we are continually working to be more available for our students. The best way to meet with us for a specific question is by appointment, which you can schedule through Accommodate, which is kind of your one-stop shop for everything DAS. That being said, my door is always open and we're always available for students to drop by at any point as well. It's just kind of you're taking the chance that we might be in a meeting or be meeting with another student or whatever it might be. And so we're trying to get creative about how to have official office hours for this upcoming fall semester. And for any folks who might be registered with us, they will hear when we get that sorted out because that's our dream goal, but we still have to obviously contend with the other needs of our role. But like I said, the best way to meet with us is easily via appointment, via Accommodate. Even when we do have those office hours set up, it's meant for super quick questions. I will add as well that one of the things that you'll have to do as a new student that you'll have to do every semester, it's called a semester request, and that's how your professors are alerted of the accommodations they'll need to implement in their class. And so what we're going to do is for the first week or so of classes, we're going to have our testing center completely open from 8 to 5, except for a lunch break. And that is going to be fully committed to helping, especially our first time students, submit those semester requests because it might be a little bit difficult to kind of get around the Accommodate system when it's your first time. So we really beefed up the support there to make sure that any student feels supported while they're submitting their semester request for the first time.
Great, thanks.
Yeah,
Amy,
to
Laura,
add
oh, go ahead.
on,
Go ahead,
sorry,
Cindy.
Julie,
Sorry.
to
No,
add
go ahead.
on, we are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. And as Sarah mentioned, we typically have our office doors open, but as you may know or may not know, we do service about 500 students. And so at any time that we do have our doors open, sometimes it's faculty or staff or students that stop by. But I will tell you that our disability access services is located Olin, third floor. So if you walk into the testing center, there will always be someone there. And if it is something that might be urgent or quick, they typically send a little chat message to myself and Sarah and go, hey, do you have a quick 5 minutes, 10 minutes? And then that's how we're able to easily squeeze in students between meetings. So yeah.
Great. Laura, Amy, same question, kind of hours. How do you navigate?
Yeah. I think before I talk about hours, I just really want to quickly, because I think we're unique in that we have an integrated health and counseling clinic. And I think it's good for folks to know Laura and I worked really hard over the last couple of years to create and roll out this last academic year a fully integrated health and counseling clinic. So our team is able, if your need is one where you've got one of either Laura, one of her team working on a physical health issue that's impacting your mental health, they can work collaboratively with our counselors on the same treatment plan, connecting about the best next steps. We are co-located, all of our providers in one office building. And so, if you come in, we've always said this, no wrong door. Like we just want you to come in to Welty and then we will triage where you need to go. And because we are an integrated clinic, we're able to do that really seamlessly, which I think is really great. We also, Laura, has implemented Saturday hours for nurses. So, I'm actually, Laura, why don't you talk about when we're open and then I'll hit on you, Will, after that.
Laura, talk about the academic year. Obviously, the summer is not pressing for this group, so
Absolutely.
academic year.
Okay. During the academic year, all days that school's in session and including breaks, actually, we're open from 8 until 5. And we have health providers available all day. So we have a nurse on staff every day, all day. We have, I'm a nurse practitioner, so I'm a prescriber available every day. And we also have a couple of doctors from the community who come in and assist with clinic hours as well for the other days. We have a medical assistant. We're pretty robustly staffed. And I'll let Amy talk about the counseling piece just because she can discuss that. But literally everybody walks in the same door. Our health record system is the same system. So when you're checking in, it's all in the same place. And any person you're looking at is somebody who can help you do what you need to have done. We also have Saturday hours. We have RNs who staff just a couple of hours on Saturdays. Things happen all week, not just from 8 to 5. So there are resources available at any point that something happens. I think that kind of covers it. I'll let Amy talk about the counseling piece.
So we have 5 full-time counselors and then an individual who's part-time counseling, part-time clinical case management, but rolls into a full-time position. So we run without a wait list. We do not have session limits for students. And most students were able to get in for their first appointment within 1 to 2 business days. We also have the ability to utilize a partner. We have a teletherapy partner, you will, that students can use because some of our students, we're open like 8 to 5, but sometimes students are like, I need my counseling in the evenings, I need counseling on the weekends, so they can have 12 free sessions with our you will partner. 40% of the providers with you will are providers of color. Half of our counseling providers are providers of color. So we have a pretty diverse ability to help students navigate different places in there. We are diverse by license across the board, like Laura talked about. We have MAs, nurses, RN, nurse practitioners, doctors. We have social workers. We have professional counselors, we have psychiatrists, we have psychologists in training. So diverse of license. We also have diversity of age. So we have providers who are newer professionals. We have providers that are later professionals in their lives. So it's a really great blend of folks willing to meet with our students.
Awesome. Okay, we've had that spurred some questions about counseling. So I think you've answered some of these. So let me see here. At what point at what point might you suggest to a student that they get set up with counseling in town as opposed to on campus? Like, what are the reasons why someone might go off campus versus staying with one of the counselors on campus?
I think so. Counseling on the college campus is such an interesting thing because, our counselors work during the academic year, but our mental health actually is with us all the time. So I often tell folks, like, if meeting with a counselor weekly, every 2 weeks, over the course of 12 months is really what is needed for what's happening and what you need, really that's best served going off campus because they're available to you all the time. But honestly, most of our students see us 2 to 3 sessions. That's the average. And it's more like solution focused brief therapy. And we are primarily generalists. So if Oh, at this age, sometimes students have their first experience with bipolar can show up, OCD, and their symptomology is one that's better suited seeing a specialist. Then we will work with you. We will continue to see you and work with you until we find an off-campus provider. All of the care that you get at Welty, whether it's from Laura's team that's done with, I always say, done with our brains or our eyes, is free to you. There's very few things that would cost. There's some point of care testing that happens out of the health center. But for the most part, everything is free, and that includes seeing our psychiatric nurse practitioner. Again, it's a great starting point. Like if students are just like, I'm just not really sure what I need, I'm really struggling, come see us because we will navigate what makes sense, what makes sense with your insurance, what makes sense with what your particular stressor or experiences.
And maybe, Amy, just to finish off, kind of as I think about counseling support in particular, mental health support in particular, could you talk a little bit about urgent hours? When are those available? How might they be utilized by a
Sure.
student?
Yeah. Monday through Friday between 10 and 11 and 3 to 4, we have counselors that are available to take students in a walk-in basis. I would say most often they're used, Julie, for students who maybe they've had 2 or 3 days of really high test anxiety. They're not sleeping well, right? They're feeling like, okay, things are getting off. I'm not doing well. I'm not able to show up as the learner that I know I am. So they come in to see one of our clinicians to kind of do some problem solving, get some connection, maybe start some counseling, get started with counseling. We also see students though who are in more of a sense of crisis. So it really kind of varies, but it's if like I said at the beginning, we can get students in for ongoing counseling within 1 to 2 business days. It's really like, I really can't wait. I need someone to talk to me right now. So those are available. After hours, we also have a 24/7 urgent crisis line that's connected to our counseling center. So when the individual calls, it's answered Whitman Counseling Center. It's a licensed clinician that's talking to the student. They're making a plan for whatever that looks like, whether it's to come see us the next business day, whether it is to maybe go to the ER for a more intensive intervention. And then we get those reports that come in every morning. And so we connect back to the student. So there's ways to be connected for mental health 24/7, 365 days a year.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna swap offices for a hot minute here. Sarah, Cindy, maybe could you talk about the differences between seeking accommodations as a high school student, or like what changes when you make the shift from high school to college? What should students and or families who might be on the call know about the differences?
I think the biggest difference is that in high school, K through 12, I should say, as I mentioned before, it's looking at different laws, right? Like IDEA Section 504. But the biggest difference is that K through 12 is very parent focused. The school is the one who maybe initiated the evaluation. The school is watching like what gets implemented. Whereas in college, you're now covered by the ADA instead of the American with Disabilities Act. And it's very student driven. So, for example, something that, sometimes frustrates me and Cindy and probably many others on this call and many others at the college is that we can't reach out to you and be like, hey, student, we heard you have a disability. Would you like accommodations? You have to self-identify to us because it's all student driven. The student needs to talk with the professor about how their accommodation will be implemented in class. And that's definitely the biggest difference. Parents can certainly help behind the scenes by encouraging their student and, giving them the confidence to have that self-advocacy skill. But I would say that's the biggest difference. Cindy, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would say that within that difference and that change, I know it can be a difficult place for parents. You want to make sure that your child is set up for success once they're away. So just know that we're more than welcome to talk to parents about what the process looks like, what Disability Access Services does, how we support students, and then when we talk about students self-identifying, that's when students are able to make an initial request, upload documentation, and when they meet with us, please know that it's an interactive process. We look at what's in the documentation. We also talk about their lived in experience, how high school worked for them, what worked, what didn't work. And then we're also able to talk about, well, what college looks like. And I think that's a big learning curve, but one that we're here every single step of the way. So whether, parent, student, if you're just remotely interested and want to know, you're more than welcome to connect with us. Something else that students and sometimes parents find out later on is that just because you come see us and let's say that you want to start the accommodation process, it doesn't mean that you have to send your accommodation letter out to every single professor or every single course. So you get to pick and choose who are the professors that your accommodation gets sent to. And when Sarah mentioned that you're having conversations with your professors, please know that part of our job is also that advocacy and guiding you through what those conversations look like. So myself and Sarah have sat in on meetings where we talk to students about, okay, great. Part of the purpose is not to self-disclose your diagnosis. You don't need to do that as you're protected through the ADA, but it's simply to go, hey, so I just want to learn more about what my accommodations are going to look like in your course because I want to be successful. So part of those conversations, I will tell you that it's to have a mutual understanding. Professors have lots of students in their course, may get lots of letters of accommodations, and those conversations are ones to just have a plan in place. And like I said before, Sarah and myself have sat in on those meetings with professors and students just to help guide them, because at the end of the day, we're all here to provide access for our students.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that a little bit more, Cindy. It goes even further than just class to class, right? Because if you have, for example, extended time for testing and for quizzes, though, you're like, oh, I don't need that, then don't schedule the test with DAS. We're not going to track you down. More likely than not, we don't even know that a quiz happened. And it's kind of up to you to choose when to use your accommodations. And then the other big difference I did want to mention that Cindy, you kind of mentioned as well, is that K through 12 and the laws that are associated with that are set to set you up for success, whereas we're just setting you up for access. The success is completely on you. And so that does mean that like there are expectations, but that's also a really big growing point and another learning curve. But as Cindy mentioned, we're here to walk with you through that learning curve, walk with both the student and the parents as they learn to kind of give the student the autonomy, and that's ultimately what we want to do is make sure you're set up for success after Whitman.
Great. Thank you. All right. Flip-flopping again. Amy, I think this probably lands most in your space, but others feel free to trip in. This is how it's worded. It sounds like there is a rapid access to mental health services, but wondering if there's a specific program to help in the event of campus assault or sexual assault.
Yeah, so we have a couple different resources for students who who experience unwanted sexual behavior, a sexual assault on campus, harassment. So Walla Walla partners with the YWCA to have a sexual assault victims advocate on our campus. So we got some feedback few years ago that students felt more comfortable with that person not being a Whitman employee, but being an employee of the Y, but they hold office hours here. They actually are at Welty. And this is one of the things I think what Laura said is so important is that, that when you come into Welty, you be coming of various reasons. You can come here because you're sports physical, you're coming for your immunizations, you're coming to pick up some prescriptions, or you may be coming to meet with our SAVA cat and but so she's available to students. We also have a really remarkable Title IX coordinator. Whitman hired Kaylee Goodine in the last 6 months, and I'm just thoroughly impressed with the work that she does to advocate for students. So we at Welty, we can connect students if they want to do something more formal in terms of looking at options. We can connect with the Title IX coordinator. And as well as all of our therapists, as well as our doctors and nurses, we all practice from a trauma-informed model, which means that and I think sometimes it is something that happens. A student comes in consistent bellyache, difficulty with symptoms, and sits with Laura. And after a little bit, Laura sort of pulls something out that says, I think we need to get you connected to someone else. And so there's a lot of different ways for which to help that we help in a pretty rapid way with students. The Y runs a 24/7 hotline, right? And they can send someone to meet a student if they need to go to the hospital to meet with a sane nurse to do a kit. So a lot of different ways that we navigate. I think coming back to the model of it's just holistic care, right? Like we wrap care all around all the different parts of students when they come to Whitman.
Amy, can you talk a little bit about the Check It program and kind of the
Mhm.
prevention education
Yeah,
around particularly sexual violence and
yeah.
healthy relationships?
Yeah, for sure. So we have at Welty, we have a full-time prevention specialist, Michelle Shin, also a Whitman alum. And she has her master's in public health. And we partnered with a national organization called Resist Violence, Change Culture, and implemented a bystander intervention program called Check It. And it gives our students the language and the skill set to intervene in moments of harm. And that can be moments of harm around sexual violence, but also, we see students using that same strategies in terms of a bias incident, in terms of someone, they're concerned about indulging too much in a substance. You can use 5Ds, but the thing that's really cool about this curriculum is that one, it gives you the way to intervene, but it does it with you're comfortable doing. So we have 4 peer educators. We'll be hiring 2 more peer educators. We collaborate with all different student organizations, clubs to do workshops that are very interactive. So not just let me talk to you about ways to intervene, but let's practice. Let's play some games. Let's talk about how do you create a culture of consent, right? And so it's a very campus-wide week. We launched in February with a huge party, and we had, oh gosh, 375 students come out on a Friday night to the launch party. And my prevention specialist called, I don't know, we were like half an hour in, she's like, go get pizza, we need so there's a lot of buy-in campus wide with faculty, with student organizations, to really look at like what are we doing to change a culture on the campus.
Awesome. Okay, and then one more question, kind of in this vein. Are there any kind of support groups for students who have experienced incident of violence in their past, and they just want to have good support as they come into Whitman and think about that?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that I would sort of think about navigating. So we do groups out of our counseling center, and one of our clinicians is planning to do a group called Seeking Safety, which is a group around looking at trauma, creating some skills for managing uh, sort of our body's response to trauma to be able to be successful in the academic spaces. So there is some groups running. But a lot of our students sometimes prefer the one-on-one. And so they'll meet with our counselors and have those conversations. There's also groups though in the community. So the Y offers support groups as well that we can connect students to. And then lastly, if you're somebody who really, for some of our students, the teletherapy venue, meeting with a clinician over via Zoom, it feels more comfortable than in person. We've actually got some really great referrals for some groups that are held by organizations outside of Whitman, but that are, and so you're meeting with, you might be in a group of 10 folks who have a shared experience, and they're from institutions all over the country. So it's a couple different ways to get the needs met. But I think it's figuring out individually what works best for you. So first stop, come see.
Yeah. All right. This one maybe is for you, Laura. This student is from Texas and they have Medicaid. Will they have to apply for Medicaid in Washington? And if so, do they have to wait until they get here to do that?
That's a great question. And I don't know exactly what the timing piece looks like. So I will suggest to that student that they need to talk to Trish, who can walk them through. She's the expert in all of those things. Just call our office or email healthcare at whitman.edu and we'll get you set up.
So if you are the student who asked that question,
yes,
you have my email. You've asked it anonymously. Go ahead and email me and I will make these connections for
Great.
you. That way you're not having to kind of dig around the website to find everybody's email. But you've got my email. You just got one yesterday. Click on the reply or send me an email through it and I will be happy to get you connected to the folks that can help you. Trishan is an expert in helping students get their insurance plan. I know this because one of the people living in my house got some help from Trishan. So
that's right.
All good. Okay.
And it's an important point that if you have state-based insurance coverage, it very likely does not cover here. So that needs to be a conversation before you get here. So thank you.
And I'll just tag onto that a little bit. State-based insurance also, there's rules for each state. So the other thing you may want to do is if you have a connection, for some states, people have like a local health clinic where there's a case manager that works, calling your uh, uh, like in Oregon, we had like Oregon Health Plan, and then you could call the 1-800 number and they could walk you through. But it really is, every state has different rules around releasing their state-based aid. So it's important also to kind of, and Trish can help with all that too, but yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I have one question in here that's not really health related. Just a reminder, I'm happy to take non-health and wellness related questions. I'm answering them at the end. And as it turns out, we're right towards the end right now. So there's a question that if we aren't sure where to go for a specific issue, is there a number we can call to ask where to go? What I would suggest is that you walk into an office, in particular, kind of center to campus. The Dean of Students office is located in the building with the giant clock tower on top. This is called Memorial Hall. They're on the top floor. Many offices are connected to the Dean of Students office, and they are a great place just to walk in and be like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go, who I'm supposed to talk to, whether I need to talk to someone at all or whether I can do it online. And they will either open up the website and show you where to do it, or they will walk you to the office and introduce you to the person. I would, quite frankly, it's easier than calling because that way you develop a personal connection with folks from the dean's office. I also will offer up myself. You're going to get an email from me every single Monday. I, again, have been here for a bit. So not my first rodeo in any sense of it. And so if you need assistance, I probably know the person and can get you connected in a pretty quick, expedited way. So you're certainly always welcome to email me or text me, and I'll also get you connected. But walk through folks' doors and ask. I think you will find that Whitman is a community that cares. Whitman is a community that puts students at the center of our work. So literally, any office you could walk in and be like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go, and they should be able to walk you to the office that you need to be at. Okay, we are wrapping up here. Y'all did great. We crashed through a bunch of questions, but I'll just currently no questions. So maybe let's go with parting advice from our panelists. So we're going to start in the order that you are on my screen. So Sarah, up first. You are giving your parting advice for as the panelist.
Just in general, so regarding disability, please apply early, apply as soon as you can. It's just a lot easier. Read the emails that we send you. They're sent for a reason. But in general, enjoy the summer and enjoy the learning curve and all that comes with starting college or starting a new college if you're a transfer student. You are really welcomed here. And as Julie said, we really want to help. So literally just ask anybody and we can likely direct you to the right person. But just have fun and do what makes you happy.
Awesome. All right, Amy, next up, parting advice.
I think I'm gonna go a little more practical. I totally echo what Sarah said. Enjoy your summer. I think that's fantastic. Know your insurance information is huge. check your email on a really regular basis. We are mostly communicate with students by email still here. That you will get text messages reminders, like you can opt in for text message reminders from Welty. Lots of offices will text, but get into a good habit of checking your email on a really regular basis. It's so important. And then I'm gonna let Laura plug what I know she wants to plug, but no wrong door at Welty. That's the other thing. Just remembering there's no wrong door. Just come see us. If things aren't working, come see us.
All right, she queued you up, Laura.
Yeah. I will echo that as well. Have a wonderful summer. Enjoy your time. And you're going to work hard here. You're also going to love it. Whitman's a pretty special place. No, I think what Amy was talking about, please fill out your health forms as early as you can. It will allow us some time to chase down problems with you before you get to campus. It's so much easier to handle those questions when you're near your medical records and you have the person, the provider, the parent, the whoever who has the information within reach. So please get on those and get them done and get them off your list. And then you can go on to the next thing because there's going to be plenty more.
Awesome. All right, Cindy. Parting advice.
Parting advice, I would say das@whitman.edu. Please email us at any time. Stop on by, say hello, and realize that throughout this summer, we're very available to do those virtual meetings with you, with your parents. So schedule them. Schedule them so you can ask questions, schedule them so you can maybe look and learn about disability access services. And then once you get on campus, email us and set up a meeting to just stop by. I think it's really nice to go into a space to just get to know it before you need to use it, or walking through the building and learn how to navigate that. And just know that we're here to help. So know that Whitman, you have lots of people who care, lots of departments. And I will echo what my colleague said is there is no wrong door. Every person will walk you or take you where you need to be. Yeah, so just know that I agree. Whitman is a special place, lots of fun things to do. So enjoy your summer and das@whitman.edu.
Awesome. Thank you. Big thanks to all my panelists. Appreciate your time. We are at our bewitching hour. So just a couple reminders for folks. July 1st is a big deadline. We have all sorts of things that are due on July 1st. One of those things is your AP scores. I know your AP scores don't get released until July 6th. Don't panic. Just turn them in as soon as you get them. It was a date that was set without kind of good knowledge about when the AP scores were going to be released. So don't panic about that. You don't need to email me about those. You just need to send them in once you get them in. I will lift up the health portal again. I think there's a raffle. If you get it in by a certain time, you get a big swag basket. Who doesn't love a swag basket? So again, motivation, hopefully, to get things done. The other thing I would say is you're going to be asked to do a lot of forms. If you run into an error in a field, you put in your insurance number and it doesn't let you go forward, don't panic. Email me. I will get you connected with Laura, or I know we've got a couple other forms that have some errors that occasionally pop up based on the information that's needed. So please just don't panic. Just ask for help. This is a great opportunity for you to stretch those help asking muscles, which will come in quite useful for you when you get here to Whitman. And then finally, our third Know Before You Go is on Tuesday, July 14th at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. This is our one about advising and registration. Most of you are now finally done with high school, and we can start thinking about what classes you're going to want to take in the fall. And so this will be all about advising and registration. So again, that's Tuesday, July 14th. You'll get a text about it in advance. We'll plug it in all my Monday emails. And so again, thank you so much for attending this Know Before You Go. We've got 3 more for the summer, and hopefully by the time you arrive in August, you will know everything you need to know so that you can have a successful launch here in the fall. So bye, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.